4:30. What time is it now?
4:30 on the nose.
Awesome. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Friday. The job of elections never stops in Arlington, so welcome. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you. And the first order of business here is to adopt minutes from the previous meeting.
I move that we adopt the meeting minutes from March, what was it?
March 23rd.
March 23rd, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved.
We have to sign it, right?
Yes, and I will pass this around after our meeting is done. You can sign away. Okay, L&A testing, so we did logic and accuracy testing of the election machines, so can we get an update on how that went?
Yeah, I think it went very smoothly this election. So we certified one precinct-based scanner for each precinct and one ADA machine for each scanner. And we have just one scanner for each early voting site. So, yeah. So took around 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And we didn't run into any issues, which is
no, yeah, there were no technical issues and no scanners no equipment that looked like it was.
I thought it also, I appreciate that. I thought it also went very smoothly as it should.
Yep.
And we finished in record time.
I agree, it went smoothly, no problems. It was pretty much in line with every other LNA testing we ever do, which is great.
Yeah.
This may be, thinking quickly, this may be the first time that we've had, along with Canyon County Board primaries, the first time that we've had just one race on the ballot since my first election in 1994,
Wow.
which was for the U.S. Senate.
Wow. And I do think that we used a new checklist, and I do think the new checklist helped it go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Yes, that was very well done.
Yeah, I liked it too. It really helped us to kind of walk through and say, okay, what am I looking for?
So,
What am I not supposed to see? So yes, that was really nice.
Yep, I agree.
All right, thank you for that report. So next is the early voting update. I know that's keeping staff very busy.
yeah, so we're averaging around 30 voters a day right now. Today was the first day that we went ahead and broke 30. And it's right at 400. Well, when I checked before coming in here, we were at 492 voters so far at this election. So it is slow and steady right now. We are starting to see it pick up a little bit though. And we do think that when we open those extra voting sites at Madison and Walter Reed next Saturday, that we'll start to see it pick up. I do know I've talked to some people that are going to wait till those sites open.
Okay.
So.
That's good to know, and just to also let everyone on the call know that you can check, there's a dashboard online that you can go and check, so definitely, go and check that out at the vote.arlingtonva.us. Okay, polling place changes for June.
So there are 3 changes for the June election, and we received final approval for these changes from the Attorney General's office last week. So we are busy getting the postcard notices out to the precincts today. Those changes, just as a reminder, are for precinct 17 or 117 in Overly Knolls, and they are moving from Resurrection Lutheran Church to the Cardinal School at 1644 North McKinley Road. The other change is precinct 31, right next door to Overly Knolls in Lexington. They are moving to the Westover Library right next to Cardinal School. We are working closely with both facilities and members in the community to make sure we have adequate signage at both the old location and the new locations to help direct voters to the correct room to vote on Election Day. The next change is we are moving from Barrett Elementary School That's precinct 45, and they will be voting in the Buckingham neighborhood. They will be voting at Lover Run Community Center at 300 North Park Drive. So there's one more change. We have been notified by St. Agnes Church, which is precinct 7 in Cherrydale. And they are undergoing an extensive renovation, much like this building here. And they have expressed concerns about the safety of voters using that space for this election. So we have received approval from another church to move voting for this election. So there are a couple different options. We could contract with the bus to have voting take place in the parking lot there. We can move it to W. Washington and Liberty High School, but that's also a polling place. Or we could just move it 2 blocks over to this church on Quincy, North Quincy Road. So that's my preference, if the board is okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with moving it to the church.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's better.
Yeah.
And there's a fair amount of, pardon me, having used to live on Quincy Street, there's a fair amount of parking available.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be necessary, but if people do find it as necessary. There's also the W&L parking garage, but I would think for this primary,
For this
street parking should
primary,
be
yeah.
enough.
So-
Okay, and also on Leper Run, I think that's a good change,
Mhm.
besides visiting Barrett, as the two of you may have on Election Day. I used to tutor a student there, and the parking is certainly better at Leper Run.
Yes.
Yes, and there is the parking deck there, and it does have a gate, but we're working with the facility to make sure voters know that they don't need to, that parking lot is free, and it will be free for voters,
Okay.
so.
The first 4 hours
That's
are
good.
free normally for all citizens.
Yeah.
So
But we're going to make sure that's signed appropriately, or that we
Okay,
can
so
get
that
the
it
gate
is free.
lifted that
Okay.
day,
All right.
so that it's not going to be a deterrent for voters.
because they have to take a ticket, so we don't want anyone to think they have to pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good, that keeps it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And Gretchen, would you just mind explaining for everyone on the call why we have to go to the Attorney General to get approval for moving precincts?
Yeah, so this is part of the Virginia Voting Rights Act, and there are certain public notification requirements that need to be put into place. And so the county attorney, when reviewing the timeline of when we advertised and when the county board voted on this change, it was their decision that we should go ahead and request a certificate of no objection from the Attorney General's office. Because there is, I think it's a 60-day public advertising window followed by a 45-day enactment, and we just missed that first 30 days in that public advertising window. So
How long did it take to get notice of no objection from the AG?
it took about a month.
Okay, so definitely faster.
Yes.
It's certainly faster than it used to be when we were covered, just to make sure the two of you know, used to be covered under the Voting Rights Act, where it took 90 days
Mhm.
to even change a precinct.
Yeah.
I was an intern in the voter rights section of the DOJ in college.
I
So
see.
I was doing some pre-clearances back then, so.
Yeah.
That's nice to know that additional experience you bring here.
I don't think I did any in Arlington, I remember Louisiana.
Do you recall who was the attorney who handled that?
I do not, but I do have it, so I'll be
I'm just
happy to look
curious
that up
if it
for
was
you.
Josh or,
I don't, memory, it feels like a female's name, but I don't 100% know.
okay.
Yeah.
Curious if it was him or the one who called about the
Oh, yeah, the other, yeah.
was SSN issue or someone else, just curious.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to pull it up for you.
Okay.
So do you think it makes sense to going forward, we use the notice of no objection process, or if we can't fit within the public notice period, is that preferable? What do you think?
It's really, so moving polling locations, that really is the responsibility of the local governing body. And so I would want to work closely with the county board and the county attorney. Obviously, we want to get as much public input in the process as possible. But sometimes, so for like Cherrydale, this is an emergency notification. We notified St. Agnes back at the beginning of the year, and they didn't get back to us until we got closer to this election that they would not be available, so.
Yeah, just interested in seeing how the process works, because I think it's the first year we've done it, right?
Yes, it's the first time we've requested the certificate of no objection because the Civil Rights Act came online last year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first change we've done under the new bill. And I think, like I said, after reviewing it, we just will be a little bit more prepared next time, so.
Thank you. And then we have the election officer application process, but I'm gonna ask that we move that to the next meeting. Because the parties who had questions about it were not here. So.
Yeah, so so this was an item requested by individuals from the Arlington GOP, and they are all traveling this weekend, so we asked if they would be more comfortable if we moved it to the next board meeting. So that was the preference.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because I think under code, we don't appoint election officers till February, right? So
Yeah.
plenty of time.
And we do look okay on staffing for the November election.
It's been a lot of moving people around. People have been very flexible, but we're looking good. Just a few more spots to fill last minute, but overall very good.
All right, so we'll move that item 6 then to the next, to the July meeting. And okay, open discussion for the June primary.
So I'm prepared, they'll circulate this, I've prepared the final notice of election activities for both campaigns where we let them know our pre-processing days for mail voting and also the time of the provisional ballot meeting in the canvas. And so my question for the board was the same time for the provisional ballot meeting on Wednesday okay? Yeah.
I think we have to meet noon Wednesday in code.
Yes. It doesn't have to be noon, but it's noon, that's
That's typically what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's worked out well.
Yeah, I think noon works out well as well. Okay,
So that'd be June 22nd.
June 22nd at noon. The building is still undergoing a renovation. We do anticipate meeting rooms to open up on the first floor or even our meeting rooms to open up in the next week or two. And we're optimistic that we'll be able to use one of these new meeting rooms for pre-processing the provisional ballot meeting in the canvas. So, but until we get confirmation that these rooms are available, we're in a little bit of a limbo exactly which room they'll be in. But until we are officially moved back into our suite, 311 is our kind of public counter. So any questions that the public might have should just go to 311.
Quick question about provisional votes. I remember last year we had quite a few provisional votes because of this is the first year we had the automatic mail-in ballots,
Yes.
right? Do we expect to have a similar situation this year?
Yes.
Getting mail-in ballots.
The increase in mail ballots, I don't have the exact number, but we've moved from, so if you go back to 2018, total that election, I think we mailed something like 1,400 ballots. This year in our initial mail out for the Democratic primary, we mailed out more than 8,000. So that's a significant.
I have to download Teams on my.
Yeah. So so it's a considerable increase from 1,400 to 8,500 in 4 years. So and we haven't had too many return to us marked undeliverable. But
Less than 10.
yeah, but we are having several voters tell us that they don't want to be on the permanent absentee list. So I wouldn't say hundreds, but we are having, some people come off the list. So. Yeah.
Well, I think turnout would be relatively low, so I don't think many of those people get the ballot, vote on election day, cast a provisional ballot. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they all vote, but there's a decent chance many won't.
Yeah. And then the canvas, we were going to start the canvas at 8 a.m. that day so they can start reviewing the paperwork from the precincts. So also, what will be new this election is we will be joined by some staff from the clerk of the court to help us take in ballot selection night. We just are stretched a little thin with all the boxes we have to move. So the clerk was kind enough to help send us some extra support. So
That's good.
yeah.
And we're going to be sticking with the drive-through drop-off in the parking deck. The chiefs really like that. We got that clear feedback this week, so we're going to stick with that because they seem to really
Yeah, any other questions?
Just a thought on, let's turn this down. A thought on election day.
Mhm.
We want to keep the
Yeah.
shift system.
Yeah.
I think it's worked very well.
Yep.
Any preferences on shifts?
Who's the morning person? I forget.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a morning person, but I always manage to get out of doing the morning shift, so I'll take a morning shift this time.
There you go.
So that's me, I have to be here 6, right?
6 a.m. We'll be in here at 4:45 if you feel like coming in sooner.
I find that bringing donuts helps. Did that in 20.
Yeah. We'll have
Your
our.
preference?
No strong preference. I could do the evening shift if you prefer your choice.
Yeah, last time, especially we all came together
Yeah.
to see the votes come in. Pick which one you want.
I'll do the middle shift.
That's fine.
And I'll figure out what time that is again.
Yeah.
So.
And then I'll just come back at the end of the night for
Mhm.
the shift, for the final, for the
Yeah.
counts.
Results should come in quickly
Yeah.
with just the 2 candidates on the ballot. So the only thing that will slow down results is my ability to type them into the system. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anything else for June? Comments, Steve, any comments?
Good, thank you.
Any questions from anyone who's called in? Okay, hearing none. Can you give me a time check, please?
5:47.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and officially adjourn this meeting at 5:47.
And if I could just take that back a moment
Yes.
for the record to reflect that our esteemed chair received a wonderful award
Mm-hmm.
named in honor of a former county board member whom we miss, Eric Gutschall. You've earned it very well, and I was glad to see that published in the Sun Gazette. Scott may be on the call, and you certainly earned it for your various community activities previous to, as well as including your service here on the board. So congratulations, and would like to have a mention made in the minutes of our unanimous congratulations to Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I think direction and take the kind enough to get
Yes.
bun cakes.
Buntini.
They're buntinis, miniature bun cakes. So we really like them.
Very nice.
Thank you. Well, on that positive note, I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting. So thank you everyone for joining us.
I think that was a record.
Yes, indeed.
And as a reminder, we will have a video recording of this meeting posted online, probably on Monday, as well as the draft meeting minutes. So, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.